What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome in on a beautiful Thursday evening here on the Film Guy Network. We have a saying around here when it gets to this time of the week, hey, last show, best show. Used to be last shows, best shows. Now we've kind of squeezed them into one. And we had a long list of topics to go over today. Had a whole show sheet. Was super excited to bring it to you. And then 10 minutes?
Yeah.
10 minutes before the show start, Jamon Dumas-Johnson, some people call him JDJ. We prefer to call him Pop around this market and around this network. And I'm getting intel in right now as it's happening, like as the show's going on, because it's still really, really fresh. But Jamon Dumas-Johnson has reportedly, and sources confirming, has officially entered his name into the NCAA transfer portal. And that was like the first one. It's like, what the hell? What is going on here? What is that right there? That is a starter. That is a semifinalist for the Butkus Award winner. That is the Mike linebacker. That is somebody that Kirby Smart has often referred to as the leader of this defense. And he is now in the NCAA transfer portal. What the hell? What is that? Where is that coming from? I normally get a list of guys that they expect. Hey, be on alert. These are the names you need to be paying attention to. These are the names we've kind of been led to believe that might be interested in seeking other homes, right? This dude wasn't on no list like that. Even the guy last night that we talked about, Marvin Jones Jr., everybody kind of felt the inklings on that one. That one's been talked about for about a month now. Been getting text messages like this. This was out of nowhere, instantly into the transfer portal. And I shouldn't say out of nowhere. I just got a text message from somebody that I trust that there were some possibilities of this potentially happening even last year with regards to, hey, somebody might, make something happen here with Jamon Dumas-Johnson. This is a kid from the DMV, played at St. Francis up there in Maryland, and then, was obviously a commitment to Georgia in the 2021 signing class. It was him, Smile Mondon, Xavier Sori, all committed in the same class. The highest rated trilogy of linebacker commits that anybody's ever signed up until last year when Georgia did something very, very similar with their three-headed monster class in 2022. Or 2023. This will be 2024 class. Nonetheless, this is a huge loss for the University of Georgia from a consistency standpoint, from a veteran leadership standpoint, from a that guy knows the defense standpoint. However, not to do the spin zone thing, man, C.J. Allen looked good as hell for 3 or 4 football games this year as a starter at the Mike position. Welcome into tonight's show. We're going to be talking about this at depth as the show comes in. Make sure you're hitting that thumbs up button, liking, subscribing, rating, reviewing. Guys, before I give you kind of what I'm hearing about this, what were your initial thoughts when Jamon Dumas-Johnson announced today that he'd be entering the portal?
It was, the worst thing you thought would happen with JDJ is, okay, he'll declare for the draft, he'll move on, he'll go be a professional football player. And then you see that he hits support. It's just weird seeing a guy that has been a contributor to this football team for the last 2 years up until he got injured, has been a core guy. I mean, a guy that has been a massive part of just the defense, the leadership around the program. People talk about him and talk nothing but good things about him. So hearing a guy like that to hit the portal is just – it's like, what the heck is happening? I mean, we did the thing. I was like, that's got to be fake, right? There's no way JDJ is leaving.
Yeah, except it came from Matt Zenitz, who I'm not going to spoil Matt Zenitz's bag, but it looks very obvious to me that Matt Zenitz has access to the official portal, and he's just reporting names as they pop in there. Them ain't sources. The source is the portal, okay? As someone who's had access to that thing, I guarantee you that's what's going on there. So the source gave him access to the portal, and now the source is the portal. So that's good for him. But, yeah, if that name is being tweeted out by Matt Zenitz, I can almost guarantee you that's where it happened. It happened in the official portal listing, and that's where that name came. So what were your initial thoughts?
Yeah, it's one of those things where every portal entry you see all across college football, you can say, okay, I kind of understand why that one would be there. But for Pop, I mean, you say name 3 of the top or the most important pieces of the Georgia defense in 2022, 2023, he's probably popping up on a lot of those lists. And he was a major contributor. I mean, he was a semifinalist for the Butkus Award last year. Probably would have been something similar had he not gotten hurt this year. So it's very interesting to see someone who had a role of that magnitude enter the transfer portal.
It's 2 thoughts, right? You think, hey, is he getting poached? Is someone tampering with this? I tend to lean towards that. And then there's that other idea that maybe he called for his 4th year of eligibility, and Georgia was like, No, we don't have room. But that right there seems like outside of the norm. And I was led to believe that was not going to be the case at all for anybody. If anybody on this roster this year called for an additional year or called for another year or didn't want to go to the draft, they were going to make room for that football player. So I don't subscribe to the theory that you let a starter walk to the portal for his freshman backup. Like, I don't believe that. I don't believe that to be true. I tend to believe this is, hey, this guy is probably going to end up at another big school somewhere and probably be paid relatively handsomely to do so.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you would think so. I mean, he's been people consider him one of the best inside linebackers in the entire country. So, I mean, this is arguably one of the biggest names to hit the portal all of this year, especially on the defensive side of the football. So he's definitely going to be a hot commodity. And I mean, if the theory of tampering happening is true, then I assume that we will know who is likely to land JDJ here very soon.
Yeah, I would imagine it's relatively quickly. Again, every time this happens with a random start, this is the first one though. I think some people were surprised by, like, I know he's a kicker, but like Zirkle hitting the portal, it's like, well, that guy's a starter, but he's not. He's the kickoff guy. He's not the place kicker, the field goal kicker. He wants to be that. Is that the place kicker?
Yeah.
Is that what they call that?
Kicker.
The place kicker, the converted soccer nerd. That spot, okay, that guy hits the portal. Everybody's like, okay, starter hitting the portal. This is the one that's like, what the hell? Even, like I said, Marvin Jones Jr., the Inklings were there the whole time. This is the first time, a la A.D. Mitchell last year, where a healthy, a seemingly happy starter is now in the portal going elsewhere. I don't even know, like, potential landing spots for this because I can't even remember his recruitment even being – this wasn't even a recruitment that was, like, loud. This was early on, Georgia found him. Recruitment didn't do a ton of interviews, never a top 5 edit, none of this stuff. This is a very introverted human that decided to come to Georgia and now is going to hit the portal. I don't even know where a potential landing spot would be here. And no, to answer the chat right here, this is not Fran Brown territory. You talking about NFL draft killing.
Yeah.
Go play at Georgia at Mike linebacker and then go play at Syracuse for a year and see how your draft stock plummets. This has to be go play for another national title contender that's a Mike short of a solid defense. It's the only thing that makes sense to me.
This not to do this, but it does seem kind of like Oregon just because Dan Lanning was there in 2021. He was the DC, probably had a good relationship with Pop then. That's the name that's gotten thrown out a lot. That makes a lot of sense.
Say what?
Oregon with Dan Lanning.
Yeah. I guess that checks out. I don't even know their depth right now.
Yeah, I mean, again, like this isn't one. This happened 15 minutes ago.
You think Dan would do that? You think that, because this is obvious signs of poaching.
Mm-hmm.
And again, unless you subscribe to the theory that Kirby Smart is asking 2-year starters, would be 3-year starters to just not come back, like all SEC preseason, all SEC type human beings. And guys, even when people were critical of his play this year, you know who didn't come off the field? That guy. Like, he did on 3rd and long, but it wasn't ever, hey, first down, first, second, third series of the game, number 10's not on the field. That never happened. Like, when he was healthy, he was starting, and he was the guy. So I understand the Oregon connections to Colorado. This seems like a Colorado thing that they would do.
Well, isn't he? He's from Maryland, so I mean, that is closer to home, I guess. Not really, but
I don't know.
This is a guy straight from the DMV. He's really from Baltimore. Like, he's from outside of Baltimore.
This name just popped into my mind, like Ohio State, maybe.
Man, this is so weird and so random.
It is. I have no idea. At this point, we're just kind of throwing names and thinking like, okay.
Is Ohio State losing Eichenberg? Because I mean,
well, 5th year, maybe I think he took a super senior to come back this year. I want to say the same thing for number 22, the Steel Chambers kid from Blessed
Shout
Trinity.
Out
I want to say he was a. Look at us, just wave linking it up. I want to say he was a super senior this year. So Ohio State is a potential landing spot, you would imagine. They've definitely got enough room, and if they got enough room, you would imagine they got enough assets. Okay, because that seems like we're going to talk about later in the National Hour. This newfound $6 million league that we're going to talk about tonight. Some of these Power 5 schools have already been playing with much larger payrolls, it seems like. So I see Penn State in the chat. I'm pretty sure the Abdul, the other linebacker, is a sophomore up there, isn't he? Number 11.
Yeah, I'm
not
100% sure.
Nonetheless, it all makes sense. I really wish I could take this phone call. I'm going to have to take this phone call. I'm going to step into the other room and mute. You guys handle this right now.
Okay, cool.
All right, I'm pulling up the Penn State depth chart right now just to kind of take a look and see maybe.
This has got to be the most surprising one since Mekhi Muse, because Mekhi Muse was the only other real starter of this team and had real playing time and really contributed, other than Jared Zirkle, who of course was a place kicker. But
yeah, I mean, it feels like Georgia at this point, there's one of these per class where it's just a guy that you never going into the transfer portal season, and like especially it feels like you get to these moments where like, okay, we've had 14 players into the transfer portal, maybe we've hit the clear, maybe things are kind of simmering down for us, and then wham, someone like JDJ enters the portal, someone like AD Mitchell enters the portal, someone like Jermaine Johnson or Jermaine Burton enters the portal. It feels like there's kind of been one of these per class. And this just happens to be the biggest one of all.
And this isn't even like a guy where it's like, okay, he was a starter, but maybe he wanted to be in a bigger role. No, you were the Mike linebacker of this defense. You were like unanimously decided by all the coaches. He's the leader. He's one of the heart and souls of this team. Like everyone calls him Pop. He's one of the most experienced guys we have. So it's not like I don't think that he's going to get a bigger role per se, because you were in probably the biggest role you're going to be at Georgia.
Coach, he got beat out. Didn't everyone not see that happen right in front of your face? That was kind of the answer I just got. So here's how I see this happening. Okay, and this is me now based off what I was just told. Okay, this is what I think happened. I think everybody in college football saw what we saw. I think everybody saw C.J. Allen's really, really good. All right, and if C.J. Allen's really, really good, you know what really opens the door? It really opens the door for all these poachers and all these tamperers to call and say, hey, we all saw what you're seeing in practice too, buddy. We all saw your rep count get diminished. All right, so not only are we talking about your rep count being diminished, you would imagine all the things that come with your rep count, a la a salary cap, gets diminished as well. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to replace all those snaps you missed, and we're going to give you a raise. I would imagine that's exactly what happened in this situation based off that conversation.
Well, I mean, I guess that does make sense, because C.J. Allen was your starter from Ole Miss on. Now, Pop was out with an injury. It's not like his play just deteriorated to the point where they said, okay, we have to bench you. It's kind of the Jacob Eason thing, where the injury sat you out, and then the guy who came up and started basically just ran with the job and never came back. Also very Stetson Bennett-ish.
I'm trying to think what this does to the linebacker depth now. You would imagine C.J. Allen is a starter at Mike.
What is the butterfly effect for this in Smile?
Those two are best friends. Smile Mondon and Jamon Dumas-Johnson are best friends. They have been since they both got on campus. They live together. They train together. They hang out together. They're the only two times I ever see each other smiling and talking is when those two are walking together, or those two are hanging out together and those two are talking. This, to me, would be a direct sign of, hey, maybe Smile Mondon might be going to the league too. This probably definitely didn't help the chances of you retaining him for another year, because, again, this is best friend. This is like the dude he hangs out with. I believe the other guy that lived with him is E.J. Lightsey. He's in the portal. So, again, I'm trying to go through the depth here while we're looking at this. And the three names immediately that come off my head are C.J. Allen, Raylan Wilson, Jalen Walker. And then after that,
you get into Bowles,
and you get into the incoming freshmen, right?
Yeah.
Got thin real quick.
But I mean, it's not like it's not uber talented, right? It's a room that's still got a bunch of dudes, and it's a room that's going to get even more high quality football players. I think they believe Justin Williams to be an immediate type of football player, like they thought C.J. Allen and Raylan Wilson could be a year ago. But you're right. I mean, it gets really, really thin, really, really quick with today's news.
Yeah, it's interesting because, like we said, this is one of the first guys. I think this is one of the first true out there major contributor, start every game starters that transfer away. Obviously, the A.D. Mitchell thing was huge, but he was hurt for a lot of the season, didn't really play as much as he could have. I can't, off the top of my head, think of another guy that was pretty much a starter every game he was healthy.
This reminds me almost of the Will Sanders transfer. I know it's an outside linebacker. Y'all remember Will Sanders at Alabama?
Yeah.
Transfer, couldn't play over Dallas Turner, couldn't play over Will Anderson. And then Dallas Turner gets in there, starts getting a whole bunch of reps. Okay, Jamon Dumas-Johnson obviously wasn't going to play over Nakobe Dean. Gets his run. All right, here comes this freshman starting to take my reps now. Will Sanders goes from Alabama, goes out and has a year with Arkansas, and damn near winds up being a top 50 pick in the NFL draft. I'm not saying that's going to be the arc for Pop here, but it seems like that's what it's going to be. This dude's going to go start for someone else. Immediately.
I mean, he's arguably one of the top 10 linebackers in all of college football. It's not like he's someone where you can't say he's going to go off to Syracuse per se. So
I think it's also weird for it to happen at this position because when you think of Georgia football and Georgia defense right now, you talk about the linebacker position because, I mean, ever since Kirby Smart got to campus and ever since number 3 Roquan Smith was on that football field, the linebackers that have played at University of Georgia have not only stuck around, at least your important keynote ones that have been starters for multiple seasons, but they've had success in the league. They've been high-round draft picks, and that looked like the trajectory that Jamon Dumas-Johnson was going to take. And so it's just it's weird seeing like one of your more consistent positions and one of your more reliable positions now enter the transfer portal, and it's all fresh.